What was your stat line last night? 35, 18, and 9.
Yes.
How many turnovers? 1?
1 at the end of the game.
Yeah. Apparently that was the only game in Basketball References database with that stat line. It's pretty good.
You forgot 2 steals, 1 block. Should be 3 steals.
But like I said, your defense has just been phenomenal this year. Did I say that or did you say that?
You said it.
I said it.
You should say it on TV.
I should?
Yeah. Push the agenda for NBA's second defensive team.
The other stat I got this morning, which I love this one. Last night broke a tie for the most career 35-point games before turning 25. You now have 89.
Oh, really?
You've moved into third place all time. Wilt has 92. LeBron has 103. Close.
Wait, LeBron...
When do you turn 25?
February 28th.
Shit, I don't think you're going to get there. You might be. You could beat Wilt. You could beat Wilt.
So Wilt is second?
Yeah, Wilt's second. You can get that. You could beat Wilt. Do you think about LeBron's record? I know you get asked about it.
Yeah.
Is it is stuff like that important to you?
No.
Is there any chance you would ever?
No.
You're not playing.
I always say I'm not playing that long. No chance. I'm gonna have my own farm. I'm gonna be in Slovenia.
What does a perfect career look like for you from here on out? You've had a pretty damn good career so far, but from here on out,
I mean, I still didn't win nothing. I mean, in NBA, I won in Europe, but championships. That's it. Do
MVPs matter to you?
I mean, obviously, I would like one.
You'd like one?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Who wouldn't like MVP?
I'm just saying, one MVP, a championship, and then you're in Slovenia on your farm.
Yeah. Hopefully, I can get more championships. But yeah, I still got to build the farm, so I still got some years to go.
All right, Luka, appreciate it, buddy.
Of course,
you're the best.
Thank you.
All right, Luka's awesome. Now let's get to our check-in with new Old Men in the Three correspondent, Jalen Williams. Jalen, what's good, my man? How are you?
I'm good.
Thank you for coming on. Thank you for agreeing to be an Old Men in the Three correspondent. It's
JJ was
exciting for us.
He was jumping around the office.
Well, it's just for me, someone who was a huge fan last year and got the opportunity to sit down with you in Oklahoma City. I'm not afraid to admit my fandom for certain players. I think anybody who follows this podcast or that knows me to any degree knows that I'm a fan of yours. So for you to agree to do this, hey, we're really excited. When we had you on in October, one of the things we talked about was expectations and sort of how you guys were managing those expectations. Has this season so far, in terms of the team's success, has it to some degree exceeded any of your expectations, or is it just on par with what you thought you guys would play like?
I don't know. It's like a little bit of both of those. It's like I think our goal going into the season, like, I don't know if other teams, because this is year 2, so I have no idea, but like, I feel like other teams, I don't know if they are like, okay, we need to win this amount of games and need to get to the playoffs. Like, we really didn't do none of that. It was just more like we wanted to play how we ended the year last year, to, start the year. And I think we've done like kind of a good job of just kind of holding up to that. And that's kind of produced where we are now. So I wouldn't say that like, we're hitting like expectations on like wins and stuff like that. But I think it's just more like the way we're playing and, kind of like the bond that we have, I think is what the goal of the season was. And then wherever that takes us, we can kind of build off that. And that's kind of led us to this point.
Before we started recording, Tommy asked a great question about team dinners, which we'll get to in a second. But, I think what's interesting in listening to you talk back in October and sort of watching the team right now, you guys are top 5 offense, top 5 defense. You have been those things for most of the season. Generally speaking, if you have a top 5 offense and a top 5 defense, you're going to win a lot of games. But there's a level of camaraderie with your team that, as a viewer of your games, is like striking. And Tommy was talking about the element of camaraderie within a group, whether or not it leads to success. I wanted to get your thoughts on that in terms of that impact on your team? And I'll sort of follow up with my own personal thoughts on it, but I thought it was a really interesting question, Tommy.
Yeah, I think it correlates for sure. I think just the more you're around, your teammates, and I feel like the more you can kind of create that bond with them, no matter what it is you're doing, I think it's just like one of those things that without us even having to put a lot of effort in or notice, that you just become closer to the guys. And, that ends up kind of being reciprocated on the court. So, yeah, I personally think it holds a lot of weight. I think there's some things, too, where you can't really like force a relationship on people, too. So I think that goes hand in hand. But usually when you have like a good, genuine bond with the team, I feel like that automatically will correlate to the court.
With the success you guys are having, do you feel like you're becoming sort of like you were the sort of hunters and now you're becoming the hunted in real time? Like we were just talking about where you are in the standings and having to deal with the fact that, teams are now, they circle you on the schedule as like, oh, we want to take the Thunder out versus, that wasn't necessarily the case last year.
Yeah, we feel that for sure. Especially the beginning of the year last year, I think teams were kind of like around like that January point, teams were kind of like resting their players against us. And now it's a completely different dynamic. It just, this whole season feels way, way different. I feel like, we're getting everybody's best shot every night. I think that's honestly kind of helped us throughout the year just because, we're a little more battle tested throughout the regular season. So, but yeah, our season feels completely different. Like the way teams are playing us. I feel like just how we're scouted, how we're played every night is way different than last year.
What does that look like in real time? Just in terms of the difference, like, are people trying to take away some element of your game in terms of the coverages on Shai's, ISOs and pick and rolls, how teams are switching or not switching with Chet? Like, what are some of those adjustments that you've seen over the course of this season?
Yeah, I think teams are throwing a lot more looks at us. You mentioned Chet, like, obviously we didn't have him last year. So teams had an adjustment period with him too on what they want to do with, having Shai and him in a pick and roll. Shai seeing a ton of doubles. You look at the Toronto game, for example, just kind of like a box of one, trap them all over the floor. I've even seen like blitzes and traps off ball screens some this year. So everybody's kind of getting like a different look. I think that's kind of the biggest change to the year. I get guarded differently almost every game. I think I'm seeing like a different change in defenders too. Like when Shai goes out, I'm usually getting the
A1. Yeah. You're getting the A1. Yeah.
Yeah. Which has helped too. I love it. So
yeah. Is there anything in terms of your own game where the coverage or adjustment happened and maybe it caught you off guard? Or was there a moment where you're like, oh, I haven't been guarded that way. Like this was a go-to play or this was a go-to move for me, and like now it's in the scouting report?
Yeah. Coaches like on the sideline will like yell out our plays now, and they'll like, usually if it's for me, like coming out of a timeout and like it's something that we've ran, like I can hear like the coaches on the other side, especially if it's on their bench, like, oh, it's coming to 8 or, kind of whatever that is. So I've been denied a couple plays. Our first time playing Utah, we ran a play that I usually like will be able to get the ball, and I got double teamed off of it. So that threw me for a loop.